Are we recording? Excellent. The other day, I went to the bank. This particular bank that I go to, they've always got one of those guys over in the cubicle, and they always seem really bored for some reason. Maybe it's the time that I get there, it's before lunchtime and nobody's there and they never have anything to do. So he pulls me into his cubicle so that he can help me. And I mean, I just needed a withdrawal. It wasn't that big of a deal, but he wanted to help me out. So he fills out my withdrawal slip for me, and then he just needs a signature. So he pushes the withdrawal slip along with the pen towards me. But the thing is, I didn't want to use this guy's pen, this pen that 100 people may have used before me, this pen that might have been in somebody's mouth, this pen that might have fallen out of a politician's pocket out on the men's room floor at a football game after having an affair with 3 strippers simultaneously. You don't know that it didn't happen. So I asked my girlfriend to get me her pen out of her purse instead. Now, while she's fishing around for it, the guy says, "Oh, you can just use this pen." So I tell him, "Thank you for the offer, but I actually have obsessive-compulsive disorder." And then he says, "Oh, no, you don't. That's normal not to want to touch people's pens." And I said, "Thank you, but I really do have obsessive-compulsive disorder." So he says, "Oh, so you mean you like to wash your hands a lot?" Now, there are times in life when you have to make decisions. Decisions like, do I engage this guy about my mental illness, or do I tell him to shut his stupid face? I decided to take the high road, and I responded to him politely without exploiting myself any further. We finish up our business, and I get up to head out of his cubicle. And he actually gets up and he starts following me. And he starts telling me about how his sister likes to arrange things in certain ways and how he likes to use hand sanitizer a lot. The guy was actually trying to make me feel better about having OCD. Now the thing is, I'm okay with having OCD. If I wasn't, then I probably wouldn't have told him in the first place. So he continues following me as I try to exit the bank. I'm now running out of the doors of the bank with the bank clerk at my heels, trying to make me feel better about OCD. I'm running, I escape into my car, I lock the door, and there he is, behind me, waving his hands goodbye. With this big goofy grin, waving those dirty banker hands, and I think to myself, did I shake that guy's hand? And I use some hand sanitizer, and all is good in the world again. Having OCD is kind of like having a little demon always perched on your shoulder, whispering into your ear, ruining everything for everyone everywhere forever. Also, the demon is a genius. You see, the thing about OCD is that not everything that somebody who has OCD thinks is crazy. It's just things that most people don't normally think about. So let me give you an example. Did you know that studies have shown that only 82% of people wash their hands after using the bathroom? Now think about what that means. Think about this room in here. At least 1 or 2 of you did not wash your hands after using the bathroom. Now I'm not going to make any assumptions. All I'm saying is that you shouldn't shake Rich's hand. Now let me give you another example, and I'm going to take you away on a magical journey here, so I need you all to follow me. Imagine that you're at a restaurant and you order a big bowl of soup, and the waiter comes and he puts a big bowl of soup down in front of you. And before you go to take a bite, the waiter, rather gingerly, decides to sit in his soup, placing his rear end in your soup. What do? Do you just eat around it? Okay, well, what about if the entire waitstaff came and they all put their waitstaff rear end in your soup? Would you be comfortable with this scenario? If the answer is no, then tell me how anybody in the world is comfortable jumping into a swimming pool. Because think about it. A swimming pool is a giant container of water and a bunch of people's bodies. It's essentially rear end soup. As one final example, I'm going to whisk you away on another magical journey. I want you to think about one of those commercials that you've inevitably seen at some point during your life where there's a beautiful woman bathing in a waterfall. And you see this fine mist coming off of the waterfall. These tiny little droplets of water dancing across her skin and moistening her lips and her eyes. Now with that image fresh in your head, what I want you to realize is that every time you flush a toilet, as the water rushes down the toilet bowl, it splashes down at the bottom and sprays up into a fine mist that fills the bathroom, giving you that same refreshing feeling as a woman in the waterfall. Congratulations, you now all have OCD. But don't worry, there is good news. You see, there is a very effective form of therapy for OCD called cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known in some Middle Eastern parts of the world as Guantanamo Bay. You see, what happens in cognitive behavioral therapy is the therapist will make a list of all of your greatest fears and then subject you to them one by one. I can't help but think that somewhere there must have been somebody with OCD with a bully of an older brother who also happened to be a behavioral therapist. I still remember my very first session. I walk into her office and we go through some formalities. I fill out some paperwork using my own pen, and we get started. And she tells me to simply walk over to her door and touch her doorknob. That was my first exercise, is to walk over to her door and touch her doorknob. But the doorknob has germs on it. But she insists. No. But she continues to insist. So I say, fine, and I go over and I walk and I touch the doorknob, no big deal. I reach for my hand sanitizer, I pull it out of my pocket, but she sees me, and she looks at me, and she says, oh no. But I say, oh yes. And she says, oh no, but I say, oh yes. And as I begin to squeeze the hand sanitizer into my hand, she jumps out of her chair and she lunges towards me. And she tackles me, and we fall to the ground, and we're wrestling over the bottle of hand sanitizer. And in the commotion, I drop it, and I strike my elbow against it. And the hand sanitizer sprays all over her, and all over me, and all over the office. And I leave that day after we finish, and I'm driving away, soaking in hand sanitizer and shame. And I think to myself, was that doorknob really that dirty? I drive a little bit more, and I put the car in park, and I dab myself down with some tissues. And then I walk upstairs and gave you all a nice speech about OCD, so thanks for listening.
Thank you. Round of applause for